Hello, Toey 2. Good morning once again.
Good morning.
This is Gary Bergman
and Michael Runion.
We're your teachers on KRJ Talk Radio, part of the Nevada Republic Radio Network. And we're trying to teach you here on KRJ, Keep the Republic Just, things that are wrong, which is this so-called corporate government that people aren't aware of.
Exactly.
But a little update. This is, I believe, the 5th day now. We've had chemtrails. Wednesday, was it Tuesday and Wednesday or Wednesday and Thursday? I forget. Tuesday and Wednesday. We had smoke with the chemtrails. And the rest of the days, we've had chemtrail formations.
Exactly.
Right now, we got one coming in now.
We can expect more with the fires over the hill in California.
Yes. So they're using that as a good cover, having that smoke. They can get on top of the smoke and drop it down. It was coming down the other day. I saw pretty heavy.
Oh, absolutely. They're
like rain.
You know, they're using the tanker aircraft. They're already set up for tankering.
Yeah.
So that's where we're
probably
looking.
Mixing it in with the formula.
Could very well be.
So we'd like to welcome you, and let's get on with the show.
Yep. Today we're going to go over some real reasons behind the COVID-19, the economic destruction of the global economies. We're not going to specifically talk about COVID. I think we beat that horse to death.
Yes, but you know what? There's a lot of doctors and nurses coming out speaking about the truth of COVID, and they're losing their jobs over this. They don't want the truth to be exposed, the global elite. They want you to be falling into this brainwashing, but the experts are out there, and they're telling you it's not real.
Absolutely. So today we're actually going to talk about Operations Research Technical Manual, TM-SW 7905.1. It's entitled Silent Weapons for the Quiet War.
Now, you can find this on the search machine, and there's probably books out there you can reference.
Absolutely. There's a couple of good ones on Amazon. I'm not a big fan of Amazon.
It was on Amazon?
Oh, yeah. I'm not a big fan of Amazon, but sadly they happen to have everything.
And how much, do you remember how much?
I don't recall off the top of my head what the pricing was.
So check it out. This is a very good reading.
So this publication marks 25th anniversary, May of 1979, of the beginning of the Third World War, called the Quiet War, being conducted using subjective biological warfare fought with silent weapons. Now, we've covered in the past the biological warfare experiments that the United States government has admitted to. They said, yeah, we did that. We dumped biological weapons over San Francisco, New York, Chicago, Detroit, and a few other places.
St. Louis, Kansas City.
Exactly. They admitted to this. So what they aren't admitting to is this quite yet. But if they're saying, heck, we did that, they're probably doing it still. That's what these kind of people do.
So first we'll give you a little historical introduction on this. Silent weapon technology has evolved from Operations Research, OR, a strategic and technical methodology developed under the military management in England. Like I said, the military in this country is controlled by the Crown. During World War II, the original purpose of Operations Research was to study the statistics and technical problems of air and land defense with the objective of effective use of military resources against foreign enemies.
Now, limited war was a new concept coming forward at the end of World War II. It was being developed by the military-industrial complex to maximize profits and to sustain growth, as well as control the population. Now, the military-industrial complex had seen billions upon trillions of dollars of influx during World War II. Now, what they wanted to do is they wanted to maintain that. So we saw it play out quietly on the world scale, the post-war, various, quote, limited conflicts that absolutely required, the expenditure of blood and treasure. We saw it in Korea. We saw it in Vietnam. We saw it in the various South American adventures that the corporate government undertook. But not just the Americans. You saw it in Afghanistan. You saw it in the Rhodesian Bush Wars. You saw it in the Suez Crisis. All these small conflicts, all these little limited fights, that's what they want. They want war without end.
It was soon recognized by those in positions of power that the same methods might be useful for totally controlling a society. But better tools were necessary. Social engineering, automation of a society, requires a coalition of great amounts of constantly changing economic information data. So a high-speed computerized data processing system, now which the 6G, 5G is already outdated, was necessary, which could race ahead of the society and predict when society would arrive for copulation.
Exactly. You got to remember that even the internet started as a thing called DARPANet. DARPANet was the connection of DARPA, which is the Defense Research something. I don't remember the exact name of it, but they are a defense research firm owned by the government and the various universities that were colluding with them. So the internet that you enjoy right now is an offshoot of that DARPANet. So the old relay computers were too slow, but the electronic computer invented in 46 and the development of the simplex method of linear programming in 47, followed by the transistor in 48, notice these all fall right together, promised great expansion in the computer field. So within these three inventions, under the direction of those in positions of power, DARPA, our friends in the government, the power strongly suspected it would be impossible to control the whole world with the push of a button. And they do that right now.
Not only control these things, enable the mass surveillance of the population, people willingly put their own personal data into these systems. They volunteer. They build their own connection webs to help track associates. They even invite the wiretaps into their homes to make sure that every word spoken is captured by the overlords to be used when the time is right, to manipulate the individual and society as a whole. This web of information also allows for the mass-scale distribution of propaganda and right think.
Now we're going to start using these terms. And anybody who's ever read 1984 by George Orwell is going to remember newspeak and right think. Right think here is the thoughts that the government and the corporate elite wants you to be thinking. They are the right thoughts.
We can see this now with fact-checking on Facebook and other media when dissenting opinions wrong think.
Again, there's another term, wrong think is thinking things they don't want you to think, following in and actually knowing the truth. That's wrong think. We need to have right think according to them.
So wrong think are squashed and right think is pushed to the top of the timeline.
So those are, we're seeing that clearly because I know at least in my Facebook, there's a lot of opinions that are getting, well, this is a wrong opinion, this is a wrong thought, this is false information marked on my timeline.
So security. It is patently impossible to discuss social engineering or the automation of society. The engineer social automation systems, silent weapons, on a national and worldwide scale without implying extensive objectives of total social control and destruction of human life, slavery, and genocide. This manual in itself, an analog declaration of intent, such a writing must be secure from public.
Now, it got leaked. It got leaked out, and that's why we had it.
Where did I leak this off? Oh, on top. I went too far.
Sorry.
Otherwise, it might be recognized as a technically formal declaration of domestic war.
It is. It's a declaration of domestic war. The government has been at war with the people, well, at least in this corporate system, since 1861. Thank you, Lincoln.
And whenever I make comments on chemtrails around the world, I'll usually say this is World War III. It's a global war, global chemical war against humanity. So that's what we're doing. These chemtrails are part of that war. So this is recognized as a technically formal declaration of domestic war. Furthermore, whenever any person or group of persons in a position of great power and without the full knowledge and consent of the public uses such knowledge and methodology for economic conquest, it must be understood that a state of domestic warfare exists now, said person or group of persons and the public. Yes. The solution of today's problems requires an approach which is ruthlessly candid with no agonizing over religious, moral, and cultural values. You have qualified for this project because of your ability to look at human society with cold objectivity and yet analyze and discuss your observations and conclusions with others of similar intellectual capacity without a loss of discretion or humanity.
Now, this is actually coming straight from the foreword of this report.
Yes.
Chilling, isn't it? You were taught in the government-controlled schools that you, or your father, or your grandfather, went to war, marched off to Europe to stop this type of thinking, to go crush the Nazis. Yet that same corporate government that runs these schools are the people that are plotting this quiet war on the people. It's quite the cunning plan. It's the best way to make sure people go along is to use propaganda to convince them that we are the good guys and that we have triumphed over them, the axis of evil. Make the narrative simple so the people swallow it whole and believe it without question. Tell the big lie. One of those Nazis over there, his philosophy was if you tell a big lie often enough, it becomes the truth.
And now, I don't know if you saw in the news yesterday, but the United States corporation, its military, seized, I believe it was 4 ships and took all their oil off them because they were from Iran going to Venezuela.
Exactly.
Now, that's in violation of international law, especially on the high seas.
Well, that would be called piracy.
That's right, piracy. And now they're trying to get us in with China. It's a game here. It's nothing but a game. They're hostile corporate takeovers. That's all these are.
Exactly. It is an endless war for endless profit.
That's it. And your body is part of their profit. The Rockefeller Foundation got in on the ground floor by making a 4-year grant to Harvard College, funding the Harvard Economic Research Project for the study of the structure of the American economy. 1 year later, in 1949, the corporate United States Air Force, and we say corporate because you can look it up in Dun and Bradstreet, you'll see the United States Air Force is a private entity, corporate for profit. Anyway, so they joined in 1949.
Yep, and the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts and the J.P. Morgans of the world have always been involved in this. They've always been involved from day one. These people that have inherited their wealth, these old money folks, they are the global corporate elite. They are the ones that don't think you, Mr. and Mrs. America, are capable or worthy of controlling your own life. They should be in charge. They should own you.
It's like they figure you can't figure it out. The reason they started this Air Force, Space Force, the real reason behind it has nothing to do with making money. It has nothing to do with militarizing the space. It's a way for them to spend your dollars and make them more profits. So in 1952, the original grant period terminated, and a high-level meeting of the elite was held to determine the next phase of social operations research. Now remember, the elite is now known as the New World Order. The Quiet War was quietly declared by the international elite at a meeting in 1954. Although the silent weapons system was nearly exposed 13 years later, the evolution of the new system has never suffered any major setbacks.
Exactly, and it's not just the chemtrails. It's not just the biological warfare. It's the propaganda machine. It's the endless wars. It's the use of microwave weapons. It's the use of ultrasonic weapons. It's the use of all these things together. This is all a weapons system. It's all designed to gain total control and passive control over you. You're not supposed to know that this is happening.
It's time to put the school systems back in the hands of the parents.
Absolutely. This is the time to do it because they've made a mistake. They've made an error. They've allowed, because of their, push of the panic of COVID, the schools to go back into the homes, to have co-op schools. It's a lot easier to do that right now. They aren't going to fight you so much. It's an opportunity, definite opportunity to go back and really reclaim your child's education.
So this political introduction, in 1954, it was well recognized by those in positions of authority that it was only a matter of time, only a few decades, before the general public would be able to grasp and upset the cradle of power. For the very elements of the new silent weapon technology were accessible for a public utopia. The issue of primary concern that of a dominance revolved around the subject of the energy sciences.
Now, one of the critical events that triggered all this, you should go look it up, is the Battle of Athens, Georgia.
Oh, yes.
Where the people, literally the militia, the people, a bunch of World War II veterans, took up arms. They grabbed their rifle again and threw out a corrupt government system. They actually went to war with the town and won because they were a well-trained, well-disciplined local militia. Now, this scared the heck out of everybody else because, well, we're no better than this corrupt government is of this town. If this was to happen on a mass scale, the corporate elite would lose their power. People would actually have a government again. They would reinstate the lawful government and throw them out on their ear.
And this, go ahead.
Tar and feather them, ride them out of town on a rail, whatever it takes.
And this is the reason the gun control for veterans, in other words, they don't want veterans to have guns, is happening. They do not want this episode to happen again, and they know it's right now, it's ready to explode.
Exactly. We are at a crossroads again. And the reason why they're taking guns away, why they are red flag law, that's a very important issue. Where they have a red flag law, no due process, no actual charges, just a supposition that you might be dangerous to some unknown person is enough for them to kick your door in with a paramilitary force, put you on the ground at gunpoint, shoot your dog, take your wife, and your guns. That's all it takes.
And we told you the way to get around this to protect your rights, because what you've got right now are corporate privileges. There's no rights under these corporate constitutions. There are only privileges, and that's what we're under. Bankruptcy constitutions of a foreign corporation. You want to maintain your rights, you have to form a common law private membership association. You have to have a contract that's binding. It takes you out of their scope.
Absolutely.
And that's what the Nevada Republic is trying to recognize or introduce to you all.
Now, we don't necessarily need you to join our private membership organization. If you want to form one with your neighbors, do it. Do it. Form an organic government.
But it has to be within a common law platform.
Exactly. That's the only recognizable one. And you got to be ready to protect it. Because, I hate to quote communist dictators, truly all power flows forth from the barrel of a gun. The corporate government has no compunction sending in their paramilitary force to come harm you, because you aren't playing by their rules anymore.
And remember, there's 72 state and federal Supreme Court decisions guaranteeing your right under a common law private membership association.
Exactly.
So that you don't have to worry about. Somebody's already did that battle for you.
That battle's been won.
That's right.
So continuing on here with what we were talking about, the silent weapons for the New World War. Energy. It's a recognized key to all the activity on Earth. Energy in the form of, electricity, energy in the form of the food you eat, energy in the activity that you and your family have. So all science is merely a means to an end, means to knowledge. The end is control in these people's cases. And whom will be that beneficiary? It's going to be you. It's going to be these corporate elites. So get out there and educate yourself. Get out there and learn.
So in 1954, this was the issue of primary concern. Although the so-called moral issues were raised in view of the law of natural selection, it was agreed among the elite that a nation or world of people who would not use their intelligence, and we're seeing that right now, are no better than animals who do not have intelligence. Such a people are beasts of burden and stakes on the table by choice and consent. That reminds me when he says stakes, was it Soylent Green?
Soylent Green is people.
That's what it reminds me of.
And that's what they actually, this is the type of thing that goes on in these intellectual think tanks. Now, you and I are fairly well-educated men, but we don't think that way. We actually love our fellow man. These people see you as nothing more than property, chattel, horses, cattle, pigs, things to be used, tools. They don't see you as people. So consequently, in the interest of the future world order, of their peace, tranquility, it was decided by the elites to privately wage war, a quiet war against the public, with the ultimate objective of permanently shifting the natural and social energy, which in this case is seen in wealth. Money is the energy transfer here, of the undisciplined, irresponsible, into the hands of the self-disciplined, responsible, worthy few, the global elite, the New World Order. Now, this is a critical point. You need to be self-disciplined. You need to be responsible for yourself. It's a critical principle of individual liberty is self-ownership. You own you. You own what you do. You own the works of your hands. You own yourself. You own your body. They don't like that. They want to own all of that. They don't think you're capable. They don't think you're responsible enough. They don't think you're disciplined enough to do that. You want to hand over your life? You want to hand over your body, the works of your hands, your family to these people? Because they know better than you do. They know better than you do in every aspect of your life.
So, where are we at here?
In order to implement this objective, it was necessary to create, secure, and apply these new weapons, the chemtrails, the microwave weapons, the ultrasound weapons, these quiet weapons. They aren't going to put a gun in your face.
Your 5G.
Which is, it turned out, were a class of weapons which, were subtle and sophisticated. The principle of operation, a public appearance, has to earn themselves the name silent weapons. They aren't going to be overt and use artillery on you. They're going to use something quiet that goes through your wall, something quiet that falls from the sky.
Radiation right now.
Radiation, chemicals, biological weapons.
In fact, from a friend of mine, they've been doing radiation spraying like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. So you might want to think about a lot of this stuff. So in order to achieve a totally predictable economy, the low-class elements of society must be brought under total control, must be housebroken, trained and assigned a yoke and long-term social duties from a very early age before they have an opportunity to question the propriety of the matter in order to achieve such conformity. The lower-class family unit must be disintegrated by a process of increasing preoccupation of the parents, and that's exactly what's going on. The establishment of corporate government daycare centers, that's another thing, for the occupationally orphaned children. Isn't that the truth?
Absolutely. These occupationally orphaned children are placed into taxpayer-funded, so money stolen from you, schools from an early age. They're talking about starting at as young as 3 now. To be indoctrinated with love of the government, love of Big Brother, and the very yoke that they are saddled with.
And keep in mind, they're supplying them with meals. What do we know about these meals? Are they putting things inside? We got little paper or dust-sized chips now. We don't know what's being put in this food.
The things that they're taught, most of which have no real use in the actual world, but drive them toward this serfdom. Ever wonder why shop and home ec were removed from schools? It's because these classes brought about self-reliance. If you could fix your own car, you were dangerous. If you knew how to, cook a good, solid, healthy meal, you didn't have to rely on, McDonald's. It's the same reason why classes like economics are reserved for higher-level achievers. This is why there's no classes that teach true life skills like balancing your checkbook, or understanding the tax code, or understanding how the market works, or any of the skills that would allow somebody from a lower class to advance in society. So also this child-run or child rearing breaks down the family bond that used to dominate society, where your grandma was the one who helped raise you. Your grandpa was the one who taught you how to fix a car, how to work on a house. The family society you had your extended family, your clan, your tribe. They would stand together against oppression. Now all that's been shattered. Families with children raised by the benevolent hand of the government, with parents, or in most cases a parent, exhausted both mentally and physically from labor, and subdued by the drugs both from the government-approved list and from the street, and fed the propaganda of the media. You look at the lower-class individuals, what kind of music do they listen to? What kind of movies do they consume? These are all set together by the government to break down that family unit. Rap treats women like garbage. It breaks down the family. That's why you have a lot of single-family homes now, or single-parent homes, where, you have women with 4 or 5 baby daddies. The government has broken the family. They've broken down that first unit of society, and they've replaced it. They've replaced it with the government.
So the quality of education, which we don't have now, it's very low, given to the lower class must be of the poorest sort. This is what they want. So that the moat of ignorance isolating the inferior class from the superior class is and remains incomprehensible to the inferior class. With such an initial handicap, even bright lower class individuals have little, if any, hope of extracting themselves from their assigned lot in life. Yes, you are in a assigned lot. That's true.
You know, a great book, and it was a work of fiction. Now it's a manual for operation. Was Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, where people from birth, from artificial creation, were assigned a different category. And they were made proud of the category they were in. I'm glad I'm a beta. The gammas are ugly and have to work too hard. And I'm glad I'm not an alpha because they have to think too much. Sounds like a manual for what we're having seen now.
So this form of slavery is essential to maintaining some measure of social order, peace, and tranquility for the global ruling upper elite class.
So why do you think inner city schools perform so badly? It's by design, because sheep and cattle cannot know what they are. They must be kept in the dark of what's happening, or they will not willingly walk to slaughter. The corporate government wants you to believe that it abolished slavery with the stroke of a pen. All it did was take it under their control. Look at your child's schools. They have their own government-assigned police forces called school resource officers. Isn't that a nice little cozy term? School resource officers. Sounds like they're your friend. Yeah, they're not. So the Department of Education has a well-funded paramilitary force with SWAT teams stationed in every state. It's the school-to-prison pipeline for any student that doesn't toe the line and conform with a broken spirit. Children as young as 7 have been handcuffed and hauled off to jail by these school resource officers for simply being disruptive. And I'm going to call out these, quote, brave heroes of the thin blue line, Blue ISIS. Hey, Michael Milgrat, Kenneth Waite, Fred Sims. I bet you felt like big men handcuffing that 8-year-old for not sitting on a cafeteria bench to be fed the slop they were served for lunch. And you, Dennis W. Ward, State's Attorney, Monroe County, I bet you had the best time with your wife after you charged that 8-year-old and refused to dismiss the charges for over 9 months while subjecting the family to vicious court proceedings. I bet you felt like a man, didn't you? You're all pathetic.
So the descriptive introduction of the silent weapon. Everything that is expected from an ordinary weapon is expected from a silent weapon by its creators, but only in its own manner of functioning. It makes no obvious explosive noises, causes no obvious physical or mental injuries, and does not obviously interfere with anyone's daily social life.
The public can't comprehend this weapon and therefore can't believe that they're being attacked by this subtle weapon. You know, they're going to call people like Gary and I nut jobs. But they called people, 20 years ago that said the government was listening to every phone call nut jobs too. So when the silent weapon is applied gradually to the public, that more than a frog thing, the public adjusts and adapts to its presence and learns to tolerate its encroachment in their lives. Sometimes even accepting it with open arms, looking at Facebook and 5G, until the pressure becomes too great and they mentally break down. Therefore, the silent weapon is a type of biological warfare. They're fooling with your biology.
So after the breakdown government-funded mental health care picks them up and makes sure that they are medicated with psychotropic drugs even from their youngest years, a full 6% of the people under 16 are on some type of psychotropic drug, and that number grows rapidly at that age, is raised to more than 1 in 10 adults.
So 1 in 10 people walking around with you are on some kind of psychotropic medication.
Zombies.
Exactly.
That number only counts the drugs approved by the government. When you bring in street drugs, alcohol, and other legal drugs, the number becomes approximately 1 in 5, with good numbers hard to come by, and as one has to report how many drinks or tokes they had yet.
Exactly. All the people that are self-medicating with alcohol, people that are going down to the dispensary, grabbing themselves, a joint for five, they aren't counted in those numbers. So look around you. Look to your left, look to your right. Probably one of those people you're seeing right now is on some kind of psychotropic medication. Could even be you.
So we have the economic model. Economics as a social energy science has as a first objective the description of the complex way in which any given unit or resources is used to satisfy some economic want. The first objective, when it is extended to get the most product from the least or limited resources, comprises that objective with general military industrial logistics known as operations research.
So the Harvard research project of 48 to present was an extension of the World War II operations research. Its purpose was to discover the science of controlling an economy. First, the American economy, then the world economy. The immediate aim of the Harvard project was to discover the economic structure and its intricacies, how it can be manipulated. It was discovered that an economy obeys the same laws basically as electricity, as any other energy source. That all the mathematical theory, practical computer knowledge, developed in the electronic field could be applied to the study of economics. Human life is measured in dollars. Right now, your worth, theoretically, to the government is about $4 million as an economic producer on average. That's the average number they're using.
So we have a summary here. Economics is only a social extension of a natural energy system. It also has its three passive components. Since energy is the key to all activity on the face of the earth, it follows that in order to maintain a monopoly of energy, raw materials, goods, and services, to establish a world system of slave labor. Slave labor, that's what we are. The social welfare program is nothing more than an open-ended credit balance system which creates a false capital industry to give non-productive people a roof over their heads, food in their stomach. Did you go too far?
No, I just bounced it right there. Oh, this can be useful for the elites, however, because it represents some state property in return for the gift. Standing army for the elites. And not only a standing army of the proles, the proletariat, for the elite, the proles represent a ready reserve of manpower for any task the party needs. There's a fake vote, so the party can turn the proles out, so the vote will always swing in their favor, giving the illusion that people have a voice. No one who's got a free meal ticket's ever going to vote to cut that off, now are they? They'd be dumb to do so. When there's a need to cover the social upheaval, and the proles are unleashed for acts for the government to ensure that this happens, distracts the workers from the real issue. We're seeing this right now. We're seeing this absolutely right now. The proletariat's been unleashed for social unrest, so that we turn away from the real things that are happening, from the fact that you're getting poisoned from the skies, the fact that your family is stuck in their homes, the fact that your business was closed. That's what this out there is for. Why we have the social unrest that we're having. Why people are rioting in Portland. Because they've been called to arms by the corporate elite. You don't think they're doing this on their own. Nobody has the opportunity to go out and riot for 60 days straight.
They're being paid pretty good money.
Absolutely, they're being paid good money. Or at least their leaders are.
So a government, by printing fiat money that has no lawful backing beyond the limit of the gross national product.
That's no backing whatsoever.
That's right.
It's not even legal to currency.
An economic process called inflation or another form of taxation.
Exactly. Your dollar sitting in your pocket right now, those of you who are old enough can remember back like I did, when $20 would fill your gas tank and you'd have change left over for a soda and a few other things. Now $20, heck, I can't even get to Vegas on $20.
That's why it's better to buy something now than save up for it later, because inflation's going to eat it up.
Exactly. Your savings account is actually earning negative interest because the amount that you're being paid on a savings account is less than the inflation right now.
So they must eventually resort to war to balance the account, because war ultimately is merely the act of destroying the creditor, and we're the creditors.
Exactly. They owe us the money.
That's right. The American state, national, and politicians are the publicly hired hitmen that justify the act to keep the responsibility and blood off the public conscience.
Now, if you look back through history, this is one of those interesting things. Every about 70 years, we have a major upheaval. You know why that is? We've talked about that in the previous show. Bankruptcy contracts run for about 70 years. Every 70 years, they need to renew the bankruptcy contract. They need to destroy the debt. That's why we have a major war about every 70 years.
And in 1999, the United States Corporation lost the lawful right to the American military battle flag. Right now, they're leasing it.
Exactly.
It doesn't belong to their corporation any longer, or the military. It's all being leased.
So cutting back to this fiat money, and I found this sad and funny. I read this a couple of days ago. So McDonald's is issuing redeemable coins that are valued in Big Macs if there's an error in your order. So effectively, these coins are a currency backed in Big Macs.
That's a lot better than the Federal Reserve.
Exactly. Currently, the Federal Reserve note in your pocket is backed by nothing.
No.
So these coins actually have a real value. They can be exchanged directly for something. That piece of paper in your pocket has value because the government says it has value.
Hey, you can swap those out in the street with other people.
Now, I'm not saying I'm against currencies. Currencies...
Well, no, but I'm just saying people really could use this. I mean,
exactly.
Give that coin to a homeless person.
Exactly. These are actually worth something. That Federal Reserve note is not. And I want to thank FDR and LBJ for that. Thank you, boys.
So silent weapons in a form of quiet warfare can reduce the economic inductance of the world to a safe level by process of prevalent slavery and genocide, say the global elite.
Exactly. Benevolent slavery. Slavery where you don't feel an actual physical lash. No, you actually volunteer for it. You have volunteered to enslave yourself and your family under their rules, under their law, under their, false government. You voluntarily do this.
So we got diversion, the primary strategy. Oh, I'm out today.
That's all right, Gary.
The simplest method of securing a silent weapon and gaining control of the public is to keep the public undisciplined and ignorant of basic systems principles on the other hand, while keeping them confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of no real importance on the other hand.
Exactly. Bread and circuses. This has been practiced all the way back to that good old Roman Empire. As long as the lower class, the serf, had bread and circuses, food and entertainment, they were happy. They didn't care what happened with their government. When the government's made up of smart men, they know what they're doing. As long as you've got the NFL, NASCAR, MLB, NHL, NBA,
That's right.
You don't care.
All the distractions.
All the distractions. As long as you get American Idol or America's Got Talent or whatever show garbage you watch on TV, you're happy. You don't care. As long as your Budweiser flows, you're okay.
So this is achieved by disengaging their minds, engaging their emotions, rewriting history, and they've done that a lot, and law. The general rule is that there is profit in confusion. The more confusion, the more profit. Therefore, the best approach is to create problems, then offer the solutions.
Exactly. They create problems. Like this COVID. This COVID is a great example of this. They've created this problem. They've created a mass panic over something that has a 0.03% fatality rate. And they're going to create a solution for it. But they have to wait long enough for you to be scared. They have to wait long enough for you to be panicked.
Just like the phony masks they're making us wear.
Exactly. They're making you buy masks.
Yes. Good.
Well, I've got to say I'm guilty of this because I saw this coming. The stock values for two things have gone up 300+%. Those are healthcare agencies and for-profit prisons.
Oh, yeah, for-profit.
And I've ridden that wave. I saw this coming. I'm guilty of profiteering on this. I'm not going to be ashamed of that. But yeah, look at that. All those agencies, they're making 300% profit. Wow. I wish I'd make 300% profit.
And when you buy a face mask, make sure it's a medical face mask.
Exactly. These cloth garbage things from China are useless. They're a muzzle.
Read the packaging completely. So the best things for the elites to do is to keep the public ignorant. Attack the family unit.
Check.
Give them less cash and more credit.
Yep.
Attack the privacy of the church.
Stab done.
Social conformity.
If you're not on our side, you're the enemy.
Minimize the tax protests. Establish boundary controls.
Got a wall going up.
Proper timing. Minimum resistance to control. Maximizing control. Collapse of the currency.
Doing that right now.
Destroy the faith of the American people in each other.
Absolutely.
When the corporate government is able to collect tax and seize private property without just compensation and violations of our God-given rights, it is an indication that the public is ripe for surrender and is consenting to enslavement and legal encroachment.
That's right. You're volunteering for this.
A good and easily qualified indicator of harvest time of the slaves is the number of public citizens who pay a corporate voluntary income tax.
It's not only the income tax. Now, the income tax is a great way of extracting their portion of your wealth without doing anything. It's the direct extortion of your wealth derived from the fruit of your labor. Taxation on your property. Remember, the government has given itself the power to take everything you own by force if you don't pay them the rent on your property. Your home, place you live, even if you built it yourself on land that you theoretically own, and you owe nobody, you owe no mortgage, you owe nobody anything for your house. But if you fail to pay the rent, the property tax, to the government for as little as 1 cent, we're seeing this play out right now in Detroit, Michigan. A man's house was seized at gunpoint because he owed 8 cents difference in his tax bill. They'll come take everything you own.
You can thank FDR for that.
They show their willingness to use force to take that property from you and leave you homeless, leave you destitute. Same goes for your vehicle. You don't pay your registration, your car tax, they'll stop you on the highway and take it from you at gunpoint. And now these powers be want to institute a wealth tax. I don't know if anybody's heard about this one yet. It's a wealth tax, 3% wealth tax on that money that's sitting in your bank, just because you have it. Now, you worked for that. It got taxed already one time. They want to tax it again every year at 3%. They're giving themselves the power to take it from you, to take it right out of your bank account.
Do not have a savings.
Why do you think that they're pushing for an all-electronic currency? It makes it easy for them to have. They don't even have to point a gun at you. Clickety-click, we take your 3%. You're a serf to the government, a slave, simply property to them.
Source of revenue.
You know, we look back at one of the great films of the 90s, The Matrix, and they had the people plugged in as batteries, copper tops, to these machines. That's all you are. Except you're in this dream that you have freedom. You're in this dream of a freest and most secure society in the world. Wake up, copper top. You're just a source of energy to the government.
You're in a dream right now, because you know what? This is not a free society. This is a dictatorship we're living in, a military martial law dictatorship run by corporations.
Thank you, Abraham Lincoln, corporate order number 100.
So keep that in mind. If we were really a true republic, we would be living a good life. We ain't living the good life. So a thought of wisdom. Those who would not use your brains are no better off than those who have no brains. And so this mindless school of jellyfish, father, son, mother, and daughter, become useful beasts of burdens.
So, Orwell, and I referred to him a couple of times, a great book, 1984, Animal Farm's really good too. He was a novelist, not a manual writer. But he seems oddly to be prophetic as exactly to how the government has and will continue to dominate the lives of the proletariat, dominate your life. And he says, who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. The government media complex controls the present. They control the indoctrination center, those so-called schools, universities, colleges. They control entertainment. They control nutrition and health. They control the drug supply, both prescribed and not prescribed. How and when you can worship and gather. To whom you can speak, and how you can speak. And the information that's fed to you. Even what you can and cannot wear now. You're forced to wear a piece of clothing now. Every part of your life is in some way regulated, taxed, controlled, prescribed, proscribed by the government complex. This is Joseph Goebbels' big lie, that we're the freest and most secure nation on earth. And it's repeated to you every day. And if you don't worship that military battle flag, if you don't thank the soldier, if you don't thank the corporate mercenary and the corporate government behind it, you're not a patriot. You're a bad person. Heck, they even whip up the proletariat if you aren't on the side of the military. If you don't, thank that guy.
Think of all the country singers that push this so-called patriotism, this brainwashing. Neil McCoy, my wife had me listen to song yesterday regarding the Pledge of Allegiance.
Absolutely.
He don't have the slightest idea what's going on in this country because he gets a nice paycheck to write these songs.
Exactly. The army of proletariat's whipped up against you if you don't fall in line. If you don't worship blue ISIS, that police, the thin blue line, their supporters are incensed. And frankly, I worry that they would cause me harm if I went out there and counter-protested them. So what does this all have to tie into the global collapse? It's COVID. COVID is a convenient excuse to accelerate the plan, the New World Order, the global oligarchs that they long for. An order where every aspect of your life is regulated and controlled by fear. For your best interest, of course. Regulated, just like a farmer that makes sure his livestock are producing the most product possible. By whatever means it takes to determine, even at the detriment of the stock themselves. So look at turkeys. I like hunting turkey. Turkey's good food. The modern day farm turkey, the breast of a modern day farm turkey has been engineered through selective breeding, genetic manipulation, hormone injections, antibiotic injections, feed products, etc., to grow to a size that no longer allows the turkey to naturally exist without the helping hand of the farmer. So this is exactly what the government's doing to you. You, its livestock. You and I, and the COVID is the latest step for that. Masks to break down the connection, the family connection, the human connection. Heck, even facilitate human trafficking. Best way to gag a child is behind a mask.
Mm-hmm.
They can't cry for help anymore. You ship them away from their family, from their mother and father. Put them into the global pedophile ring. RNA vaccines to manipulate your genetics. Food manipulation by selective closures of places to eat. Now notice in the food closures, they're closing family restaurants. But McDonald's, Carl's Jr., Burger King are all still open. They're all still okay. They're taking away and they're creating artificial shortages of good, nutritious food. Yeah, how hard is it to find meat these days? Potatoes. Those things that nourished us in years past.
So they're burying them with potatoes up in Idaho.
Exactly. They're slaughtering pigs, destroying the meat. They're dumping milk on the ground.
Mainly, a lot of the stuff people don't realize, they're subsidized. Why are we subsidizing all this stuff?
Exactly. It's controlled by the government. Absolutely controlled by the government. But if you look on the shelves, the processed stuff, the stuff that comes pre-packaged, pre-created, pre-set up for you and your family, easy to do, throw it in the microwave, food. All that's still on the shelves. Why? Take a look at the ingredient list. It doesn't list meat, potatoes, peas, and carrots. No, it's, 27 different chemicals that I can barely pronounce. So this COVID thing, it's selective culling of the old. Those people that remember things. The people we should be talking to. Culling of the sick to strengthen the breeding stock and reduce cost. As you look at the people who are dying from COVID, it's the old, the infirm, Those that 0.03% that are dying. They're collapsing the small business by forcing them closed. Why? To create wage slaves to the corporations, to run up your credit cards. Because they want you chained to the global elite. The destruction of the open market, creating currency shortages. What are we seeing right now? There's supposedly a change shortage, right, Gary?
Yes, supposedly.
Supposedly, a change shortage. They're, Walmart and these places are going to a cashless economy so that every dollar can be tracked and taxed.
And this is global.
This is global.
This has nothing to do just with this country. This is a global enterprise.
Speaking directly to you guys, these are the things Gary and I have been talking about over and over on our show. These are things that get buried by the media. Heck, we're called tinfoil hat nuts.
Well, you just said buried by the media. My wife's been showing me this deal on Facebook that's being buried on the media about this 5-year-old white kid that got shot in the back of the head by his neighbor while he's on his bicycle. And nothing's being said about this.
Nope.
So, what's going on? I mean, it's ridiculous.
So I want you to look back, Mr. and Mrs. America, those of you who are actually old enough to remember things. That the wacky conspiracy uses that used to be, don your tinfoil hat, you nut job, go out, live in the desert, look for UFOs, the lizard people. These have all come to pass. I was called nuts to say the government was listening to every phone call back in the 80s. Guess what? NSA has been listening to every phone call, and that was released by Edward Snowden, that they've been doing this.
Yep.
Mass facial recognition. Now, I don't know if anybody ever watched the show, it was Manhunter or one of those, but they revealed that every one of those traffic cameras that you see anywhere is facial recognition. They could pick you out of a crowd. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore, it's the truth. Mass tracking. Again, Snowden revealed that every one of your cell phones in your pocket, every one of those pings, that location data, is being saved by the NSA. Okay? Called me nuts for saying people got black bagged, got drug off the street by federal thugs. Anybody seen Portland lately? It's exactly what's happening. False flag attacks. Well, during the 90s, they released the fact that Operation Northwind was the thing. Well, the CIA was actually planning multiple false flag explosion attacks to blame the Cubans, to go to war with Cuba. All of these things have come to pass and are part of our daily lives now. You can call me nuts. You can call me strange. You can call me weird. Tell me to go put my tinfoil on for pointing these things out to you. But I say, we're the voice calling out in the wilderness. We're willing to put our own safety on the line to bring you these truths. Gary and I are your teachers. But you have to do your homework.
And regarding a pedophile, I don't know if anybody heard this, but it was on the news yesterday, proper news. 9 military people were arrested at Fort Hood for child pornography and pedophile.
Trafficking, yeah.
Trafficking, right. So, the military is not innocent of a lot of different things. Look at my rapes.
Oh,
going on
stuff's going on in Okinawa.
Oh, yes.
When we had a former corporate president, Mr. Bill Clinton, they took 28 trips on the Lolita Express. Wonder what he was doing on Epstein's Island.
Yep.
When we have the royal family of England embroiled in this now.
Well, let's not forget about Monica.
Well, we can't forget about Monica. But
all the deals at the White House.
We're seeing that the global elite, they're using this particular COVID thing. I'm betting you, because over 2,000 children in this country disappear. Poof, gone. Where are they going?
That's right. And remember, they're not allowing you to go in the hospitals with these children and everybody else. So
no,
they can easily say that child died, and you'll never see that body. They'll come up with a funeral. Yeah, they'll come up with a shoe saying why you can't see the body.
Well, we cremated them because, it's for safety.
That child's on the slave market now.
So go out and do your homework. I'm counting on you to do so. You have to go and really fact check us. Look at the things we talk about. Draw your own conclusions. I'm not going to, make your conclusions for you. I'm certainly not a Rush Limbaugh or a Sean Hannity or one of those guys that's going to spoon feed you. You got to go do your homework. All we can do is put the truth out there for you to start. We're giving you a starting point.
And we're going to do a special 9/11 one.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of good information coming out. We're going to talk about the truth, what really went on, and how it's all been documented, thanks to the University of Alaska, I believe it was Fairbanks. Their research they've done. So
absolutely.
We're going to show you some stuff, or tell you some stuff that you should be researching yourself. Everything we tell you can be verified. And that's what's good thing about this internet. It just doesn't restrict you to here to the States. You can go global and find the news.
For now.
Yes, for now.
For now.
They're going to cut that back too.
Any tool that you can use to start undermining them, they're going to take away. I guarantee it.
So when they take out your internet, it's too late. You better start doing something before then. In fact, I'm going to go down and start buying some seed and start building my gardens.
Absolutely. Start building your own, I used to call them victory gardens.
Right.
Be self-sufficient. Go learn a skill. Go learn a trade. Learn how to fix a car. Learn how to, work in your house. Learn how to, bake your own bread. Make your own beer.
Yeah.
Those are skills that you're going to need.
And being I'm a retired pipe welder, I'll do welding for any people. I'll barter with you.
Heck, exactly. I'm going to make that same offer. I do. Used to be a network engineer. I used to, work on computers. I have a small wood shop. If you're looking for stuff, I'm willing to barter. Heck, I even brew my own mead. Great stuff. So come talk to us. And I'm going to leave you guys with an incredible piece of wisdom from the Bible. Let he who has eyes see. Let he who has ears hear. Gary and I are that voice crying out in the wilderness.
So please join us on YouTube at 98.1 Front Freedom Radio for the 7th Amendment Hour and KRJ Talk Radio.
Absolutely. We welcome you there. We're looking forward to getting back on the air at 98.1 FM here in Pharrell.
We don't know how long that's going to be off, but so in the meantime, we're doing the YouTube.
Absolutely.
Look us up.
Go visit Miss Mary over at Sunseekers.
Sunseekers, 50 Emory Street, private mail room. She's got the boxes there to rent. She's got faxes, copies, office supplies. Used books. Used books. Paperbacks. If you want to find a place to go buy used books, go in here and talk to her.
Absolutely. She's got our civil flags there. We didn't shout out to our own civil flag this last time.
And some of our shows are there, and other articles you can get there. And you can leave, if you want, leave information with her. She'll stick it on our Nevada Republic box. Your name, phone number, email, and we'll get back to you.
Absolutely. We want more people involved here. We want another, 22 people for the grand jury here in Nye County.
That's right.
We want people to come, and if you want to be on our radio show, if you have something to talk about, drop us a line. We're happy to have you.
We'll tell you how to restore your county government from a corporate county government to a lawful assembly. We'll show you how to do it. We'll show you about the grand jury. We'll show you about a lawful jury, about lawful judges. We don't have lawful judges for your information.
We do not. We have corporate judges.
That's right. Remember, everything in this county is a corporation, so it's not lawful.
And Gary and I can't do this alone. We need you. We need you, Mr. and Mrs. America. Those people who were hoodwinked into fighting for freedom. This is the real freedom fight now.
And when you see anybody with a gold fringe on their flag, that means it's a corporate flag. It's been captured by the corporation. That's what Trump stands in front of most of the time, is that military battle flag with the gold fringe. You'll see the Nevada flag with the gold fringe. That's all captured. It means captured by a corporation. And it also means admiralty law. If you see it in the courtroom with the gold fringe, it's admiralty law.
Exactly.
So come on back and to our YouTube channel, and we'll keep you updated.
Absolutely.
And by the way, that banner behind you, that's the first draft of the Nevada Republic flag. It's been revised. It's a lot nicer. And we hope to have it out here, hopefully by the end of the year.
Exactly.
So you can be flying those.
Well, be safe, Mr. and Mrs. America. My co-host tonight, Mr. Gary Bergman. I'm Michael Runion. Remember, Chucky our law, our day will come.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.